Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, a film that I have been meaning to review despite sickness, bad videos, damage. I filmed a review for this already and my computer just called it quits, and I said because it was low quality footage I was going to refilm this. That is the film Ford versus Ferrari. Now, as you all know by now, Ford versus Ferrari is probably one of the top films of 2019. Everybody is loving it, which is something of a shame because it is a wonderful narrative, but there's nothing that I find too technologically wondrous about it. Although, again, it's a film that educates you, it's historically accurate, and it's a lot of fun. What happens is the Ford Motor Company is having some trouble because Ford is not kicking ass. And, the war is over, which was a height for Ford, and they're not making military vehicles the way they were, so they're making civilian vehicles and their sales are down, and they're pushing to be a better company. So one of the things they do is they said, let's be sexy. Let's buy Ferrari. Let's come out with the moniker Ford Ferrari. And they go to Ferrari and they say, you're a great company, we're a great company, we'll buy you. And Ferrari says, you are not a great company, you make ugly little cars in an ugly little factory, and we want nothing to do with you. So Henry Ford II comes out there and says, I want to take a dump on this guy's lawn. And the rest of the story is Shelby Motor Company, Shelby played by Matt Damon, and his top driver, some guy named Kelly, trying to build the fastest race car in the world, and some executive D-bag from the Ford Motor Company trying to stop Kelly from getting his credit for building the fastest race car in the world. Because he's a driver and he doesn't want him to drive. So the Ford versus Ferrari part is almost a background note to this film. It almost doesn't play. There are scenes in the final act where the versus Ferrari part becomes important, but they're not a big part of this film. They really aren't. The biggest part of this film is the internal struggle between the physics of building a race car and the mechanics and the logistics of getting the right man into that car and the executives who have little dicks. Now, again, love this film, and again, I have to say, yes, it is right up there with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as one of the best films I have seen this year in theaters. However, again, I don't feel the actors were pressed very hard to be characters. I mean, this is not like the Joker, where you have real character being put out there. Christian Bale, I imagine he's like that in real life. He's kind of a hothead. He's known for getting into fights and yelling at people and being hard to work with. It's if I only had one opportunity to say something to Christian Bale is like, look, it's called acting, buddy. Stop doing the steroids. Because apparently he did steroids. There's a story that he did steroids and he hit his mother. So it always detracts from the film for me to know that about him. And Christian Bale does not disappear into his characters. You generally can tell it's him. So yes, again, there are things outside the movie that make this movie less pleasant for me, like my knowledge of the Ford Company. But you know what? I always did wonder, not enough to look it up, where the name Shelby came in the Shelby Mustang, because Mustangs are by Ford. Now I know that there was a Shelby Motor Company that built race cars, and they made a Mustang, and I'm assuming Ford mass-produced it. So the Shelby Ford Mustang is no longer a mystery to me. Anyway, Ford versus Ferrari. It is a must-see film. I hesitate to call it a classic, but it will definitely be a film that you must see in order to remain part of the zeitgeist of the American movement. Anyway, I'm Richard.
Oh, greetings, humanity. Did you know that Richard, the man in this video, will spend his own money to remove trash from the ocean for every 1,000 subscribers he gets once he is monetized? Yes. And you can help. You can help by liking and commenting on this video, and of course subscribing yourself. And you should do that, or else I will come to your house and do unspeakable things to your cheese. Yes.